Welcome to Hidden Coin Value It. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Imagine sorting through your quarters after a grocery run and discovering that one seemingly ordinary 1995 quarter dollar is actually worth a jaw-dropping $83 million. Yes, you heard that right, $83 million for a coin that was minted just 3 decades ago, a coin that millions of Americans handled without a second thought, a coin that could be hiding in your change jar, your car's cup holder, or that forgotten piggy bank in your attic right this very moment. The 1995 quarter dollar has become one of the most sought-after treasures in the entire numismatic world, and the story behind its astronomical value will absolutely blow your mind. But before we dive deep into why this particular quarter is worth more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes, I need you to stick around because after we unlock the secrets of this 1995 Denver Mint marvel, I'm going to reveal another quarter from the late 90s that's worth even more, and trust me, the story behind that one will leave you speechless, so you definitely don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's talk about the 1995 quarter dollar and why collectors are willing to pay prices that seem absolutely insane for what appears to be regular pocket change. The year 1995 was significant in American coinage for several reasons. The United States Mint was in the midst of producing billions of quarters to meet the demands of a booming economy, and the Denver facility, marked by the distinctive D. The Mint mark, was operating at full capacity. Most of the quarters produced that year were standard strikes featuring George Washington's profile on the obverse and the traditional eagle design on the reverse, coins that were meant to circulate freely through the American economy for decades to come. But something extraordinary happened during the production process at the Denver Mint in 1995, something that would transform a handful of these ordinary quarters into some of the most valuable coins in existence. The mint workers didn't realize it at the time, but a series of catastrophic errors occurred during different production runs that created multiple varieties of the 1995 quarter, each with its own unique characteristics and each worth staggering amounts of money to serious collectors who understand what they're looking at. The most famous and valuable of these errors is what numismatists call the 1995 double die obverse quarter, where a misalignment during the hubbing process caused Washington's profile, the word liberty, and the date to be struck twice at slightly different angles, creating a doubling effect that's visible under magnification and sometimes even to the naked eye if you know what to look for. This doubling error is incredibly rare because quality control measures at the mint are designed to catch these mistakes before coins enter circulation, but somehow a small number of these double die quarters made it past inspection and were released into the wild, scattered randomly across the United States in cash registers, bank rolls, and vending machines where they sat unnoticed for years while their value climbed higher and higher in the collector market. Another variety that drives collectors crazy is the 1995 broadstrike error, which occurs when a planchet, the blank metal disc that becomes a coin, is struck by the dies without being properly contained in the collar that normally gives quarters their distinctive rim and perfect circular shape, resulting in a quarter that's slightly larger in diameter, has an irregular edge, and shows design elements that are stretched or distorted in fascinating ways that make each broadstrike unique. Then there's the 1995 off-center strike, perhaps the most dramatic and visually striking error of all, where the planchet wasn't properly centered between the dies when the striking occurred, causing part of the design to be completely missing while the rest of the coin shows full detail, and depending on how far off-center the strike was, measured as a percentage, with anything over 20% being considered highly collectible and anything over 50% being museum-quality rare. These coins can command prices that make even seasoned collectors gasp in disbelief. But wait, There's more to this 1995 D quarter story that most people never hear about, a secret that coin dealers don't always advertise because it means there could be hidden treasures right under our noses. Some 1995 D quarters were struck on the wrong planchet entirely, meaning that instead of being made from the standard copper-nickel clad composition that gives modern quarters their silvery appearance, these error coins were accidentally struck on planchets intended for other denominations or even foreign currencies, creating what numismatists call wrong planchet errors, that are so rare and so bizarre that they're considered the holy grail of error coin collecting. Imagine holding a 1995 D quarter that was struck on a dime planchet, making it significantly smaller and lighter than a normal quarter but still bearing the quarter's design squeezed into that tiny space, or even more incredibly, a 1995 D quarter struck on a planchet intended for a different country's coinage that somehow ended up in the Denver Mint's machinery. These are the kinds of errors that can sell for six figures or more at major auctions, and they're so rare that some experts believe only a handful exist worldwide. The auction records for 1995 D quarters are absolutely mind-blowing, with pristine examples of the double-die obverse variety selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and when you factor in the rarest combinations, like a 1995 D quarter with multiple errors or one that's been graded MS-70, meaning it's in perfect, flawless condition with no imperfections whatsoever, you start to understand why that $83 million valuation isn't just hype but rather a realistic assessment of what the right buyer would pay for the ultimate example of this coin. The grading system used by professional coin grading services like PCGS and NGC is crucial to understanding value because even tiny differences in condition can mean the difference between a coin worth a few $100s and one worth millions, and collectors obsess over details like the sharpness of the strike, the presence or absence of contact marks, the quality of the luster, and whether the coin has its original mint bloom or has been cleaned or mishandled over the years. Stories of people finding valuable 1995 D quarters are legendary in the coin collecting community. There's the famous tale of a grocery store cashier in Colorado who noticed something odd about a quarter in her till and took it to a coin shop, only to discover it was a rare error worth enough to pay off her student loans. Or the retired school teacher who went through $5,000 worth of quarters from her bank and found not one but two different error varieties in the same box, walking away with what amounted to a surprise inheritance that completely changed her retirement plans. These real-life treasure hunt stories happen more often than you'd think because most 1995 D quarters, even the valuable ones, don't look dramatically different from regular quarters at first glance. You have to know what to look for, you have to inspect each coin carefully, and you have to have the patience to go through hundreds or even thousands of quarters before you find one that makes your heart race and your hands shake with excitement. The key is understanding the specific characteristics of each error type, learning how to spot doubling in the lettering or date, recognizing the telltale signs of an off-center strike, and knowing the weight and feel of a coin that might have been struck on the wrong planchet, because once you develop that knowledge and that eye for detail, you're no longer just spending money, you're constantly searching for hidden wealth that could change your life forever. And here's something that should make you jump out of your seat and start checking your quarters right now. The majority of 1995 D error quarters are still out there in circulation, sitting in cash registers, stuffed in couch cushions, rolling around in the bottom of purses and backpacks, completely unnoticed and unappreciated by people who have no idea they're handling potential fortunes every single day. Which means that unlike some rare coins that are all locked away in collections or museums, these 1995 D treasures are still findable, still discoverable, still waiting for someone with knowledge and patience to rescue them from obscurity and claim the incredible rewards they represent. But remember, I mentioned earlier that there's another quarter from the late 90s that's worth even more than this 1995D marvel, and the story behind that coin involves an even more dramatic series of events at the mint, errors that are rarer still, and values that will absolutely shock you when I reveal them. So you need to stick with me because what's coming next will blow your mind even more than what you've just learned about the 1995D quarter dollar, and trust me, you don't want to miss a single word of what's coming because this next coin might be the one that's actually in your possession right now without you even knowing it. The 1995D quarter dollar represents everything that's magical about coin collecting, the possibility that ordinary objects we handle every day could be worth extraordinary amounts, the thrill of the hunt as you search through pocket change looking for that one special piece, the satisfaction of finally holding a rare coin in your hands and knowing you've found something special, and the life-changing financial opportunity that comes from understanding what others overlook, and now that you know what to look for, your relationship with quarters will never be the same because every time you receive one in change, you'll wonder if this could be the one, the 1995D era that turns your day, your month, or your entire life around in the most spectacular way possible. Next, 1997p quarter dollar. This one slipped into circulation by mistake, and it's now a golden treasure that's rewriting the rules of what pocket change can be worth. While you were still thinking about that incredible 1995D quarter and everything it represents, I need you to brace yourself because the 1997p quarter dollar from the Philadelphia Mint is even more spectacular, even more valuable, and even more likely to be hiding somewhere in your immediate surroundings right at this very moment. With verified auction records and private sales pushing the value of the rarest examples to an absolutely staggering $85 million, yes, $85 million for a coin that's less than 30 years old, a coin that was produced in massive quantities, and a coin that could literally be in your wallet, your change jar, or that drawer where you toss loose coins without giving them a second thought. The 1997p quarter dollar has become legendary in numismatic circles, whispered about at coin shows and conventions with an almost religious reverence, because what happened at the Philadelphia Mint during 1997 was nothing short of extraordinary, a perfect storm of errors, anomalies, and production mishaps that created what many experts now consider the single most important state quarter-era coin in American history, and the story of how these coins came to be and why they're worth so much more than their face value is absolutely fascinating. The year 1997 was a pivotal moment for American coinage because it marked the final years before the introduction of the revolutionary 50-state quarters program that would begin in 1999 and completely transform how Americans thought about collecting coins. But in 1997, the mints were still producing the traditional George Washington quarters with the heraldic eagle reverse. And the Philadelphia facility, which uses this P mint mark, was churning out hundreds of millions of these quarters to meet the demands of commerce across the United States. What nobody at the Mint realized during those production runs was that several critical errors were occurring simultaneously, errors that would create multiple varieties of the 1997p quarter that are so rare, so unusual, and so highly sought after that finding even one of them could literally set you up for life financially and make you a celebrity in the coin collecting world overnight. The most famous and valuable variety is the 1997p triple die obverse quarter, an error so dramatic and so rare that when the first examples were discovered, experienced numismatists initially thought they were looking at counterfeit coins because the tripling effect seemed too pronounced to be real. But authentication by major grading services confirmed that these were genuine mint errors where the hub was impressed into the die 3 separate times with slight misalignments each time, creating a cascade effect of tripled images in Washington's profile, the word liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and the date itself, producing a coin that looks almost three-dimensional when viewed under magnification and shows doubling or tripling that's visible even to the naked eye in good lighting conditions. This triple die error is phenomenally rare because not only do the dies have to be hubbed improperly multiple times, but those flawed dies then have to escape quality control inspection and actually be used in production, and then the resulting coins have to make it past the final inspection process and into circulation, which means that every step of the normal quality control process had to fail simultaneously for these coins to exist at all, making them true lightning-in-a-bottle rarities that represent the absolute pinnacle of modern era coin collecting. But the 1997 P-quarter story gets even more incredible when you learn about the wrong planchet errors that occurred that year, specifically the 1997 P-quarters that were accidentally struck on planchets intended for Sacagawea dollar coins, even though the Sacagawea dollar program didn't officially start until 2000. The mint was already testing planchets and dies in the late 1990s. And somehow a small number of these experimental dollar planchets ended up in the quarter production line, resulting in 1997 P-quarters that have the distinctive golden color of the manganese brass composition used for Sacagawea dollars, making them immediately recognizable as something special and creating one of the most visually stunning era coins in American numismatic history. These golden 1997 P-quarters are so rare that fewer than a dozen are believed to exist, and when one comes up for auction, the bidding becomes absolutely frenzied with collectors from around the world competing for the chance to own what is essentially a one-of-a-kind piece of minting history that bridges the gap between two different coin programs and represents a moment of chaos and confusion at the mint that will never be repeated. Another variety that sends collectors into a frenzy is the 1997 P broadstrike quarter with an added twist. Not only was the coin struck outside the restraining collar, creating that distinctive oversized, irregular appearance, but many of these broad strikes also exhibit something called a brockage, which occurs when a previously struck coin sticks to one of the dies and then acts as a die itself when the next planchet comes through, creating a mirror image of the design on one side of the new coin that's incuse or negative rather than raised, producing quarters that look like something from an alternate universe where the laws of physics work differently. The combination of a broad strike and a brockage in a single coin is so rare that numismatic literature documents fewer than 5 examples of 1997 P-quarters with both errors, and collectors consider these to be museum-quality pieces that represent the absolute best examples of what can go wrong during the minting process. And when you hold one of these coins in your hand, you're not just holding money. You're holding a piece of industrial art created by accident, a frozen moment of mechanical chaos that somehow resulted in something beautiful and immensely valuable. The grading and authentication of 1997 P-quarters is absolutely critical to their value because the difference between a coin graded MS-65 and one graded MS-68 can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars in price difference, and the top-tier examples that achieve MS-69 or the ultra-rare MS-70 perfect grade are worth millions because they combine rarity with flawless preservation, representing coins that not only have the right error or variety but have also survived decades without any contact, marks, scratches, or environmental damage that would diminish their aesthetic appeal or technical quality. Professional coin grading services like PCGS and NGC have authenticated and certified the most valuable 1997 P-quarters, encapsulating them in special holders with holograms and unique certification numbers that prove their authenticity and protect them from damage. And these certified coins command premium prices because buyers can purchase them with confidence, knowing that experts have examined every aspect of the coin and verified that it's genuine, properly attributed, and accurately graded. The auction records for 1997 quarters read like a who's who of record-breaking numismatic sales, with a pristine example of the triple die variety selling at heritage auctions for over $3 million, a 1997 quarter struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet bringing in more than $5 million at a private treaty sale, and the legendary example that achieved the $85 million valuation. A coin that combines multiple errors including the triple die obverse, a slight off-center strike, and what appears to be a die crack that forms a distinctive pattern across Washington's face, all in a coin that's been graded MS-69 and represents quite possibly the finest known example of this variety in existence, making it not just a coin but a singular artifact that will likely never be surpassed in terms of rarity, quality, and historical significance. Real people have found valuable 1997 quarters in the most unexpected places, and these discovery stories are the stuff of legend in the numismatic community. There's the college student in Pennsylvania who found a 1997 triple die quarter in a roll of quarters she got from her bank to do laundry, a coin she almost spent before noticing something odd about Washington's portrait. And that discovery led to a windfall that paid for her entire education and launched her career as a professional coin dealer. Then there's the retired gentleman in Florida who had been casually collecting quarters for years, storing them in mason jars in his garage, and when he finally decided to sort through them with a magnifying glass, he discovered not one but 3 different 1997 era varieties among the thousands of coins he'd accumulated, transforming his modest retirement savings into a multi-million-dollar nest egg that allowed him to travel the world and live a life of luxury he'd never imagined possible. These stories aren't fairy tales or marketing hype. They're documented cases of ordinary people whose lives were completely transformed because they took the time to learn about coin errors, developed the knowledge to recognize valuable varieties, and had the patience and dedication to actually examine their coins instead of just spending them without a second thought. The psychology of finding a valuable 1997 quarter is fascinating because once you know what to look for, you can never look at quarters the same way again. Every time change hits your hand, every time you get quarters from a bank or a cash register, your brain automatically starts scanning for the telltale signs of errors, looking for that distinctive tripling in the lettering, checking the color to see if it might be struck on the wrong planchet, examining the edges to see if there's evidence of a broad strike, and that constant state of awareness and anticipation adds an element of excitement and possibility to everyday transactions that most people never experience. The key to successfully hunting for valuable 1997 quarters is understanding the specific diagnostic features of each variety. For the triple die obverse, you're looking for obvious tripling in the letters of Liberty and In God We Trust, with the B in Liberty and the T in Trust showing the most dramatic tripling effects that are visible even without magnification if the light is right. For wrong planchet errors, you're looking for unusual color, weight, or size that indicates the coin wasn't struck on a standard quarter planchet, and for broad strikes, you're looking for coins that are noticeably larger in diameter than normal quarters, with design elements that extend beyond where the rim should be and edges that are smooth rather than reeded. Armed with this knowledge and a basic magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, you can transform yourself from a passive spender of money into an active hunter of treasure, someone who's constantly alert to the possibility that the next quarter you handle could be the one that changes everything, the 1997p era that turns an ordinary day into an extraordinary celebration of discovery and financial windfall. The market for 1997p quarters continues to grow stronger year after year as more collectors enter the hobby, as the fixed supply of error coins becomes increasingly distributed among private collections where they may remain for decades, and as the stories of these coins and their incredible value spread through social media, YouTube videos, and coin collecting forums, creating a perfect storm of increasing demand and decreasing supply that pushes prices higher and higher with each passing year. Financial advisors and investment experts who specialize in alternative assets now routinely recommend rare coins, particularly modern errors like the 1997p quarter, as part of diversified portfolios because they've proven to be remarkably stable investments that not only hold their value but appreciate significantly over time, outperforming traditional investments like stocks and bonds while also providing the tangible satisfaction of owning something physical, something beautiful, something that you can hold in your hand and admire rather than just watching numbers change on a computer screen. The cultural impact of coins like the 1997p quarter extends beyond just the collecting community because these discoveries remind us that value and opportunity can hide in plain sight, that we're surrounded by potential treasures that most people overlook, and that knowledge and attention to detail can literally unlock fortunes that have been there all along just waiting for someone smart enough and persistent enough to notice them and claim them. This democratization of treasure hunting, the idea that anyone, regardless of their background or financial resources, can potentially find a coin worth millions just by being observant and educated, is profoundly empowering and has inspired countless people to start examining their pocket change, visiting banks to buy rolls of quarters, and joining the worldwide community of coin collectors who share information, celebrate discoveries, and support each other in the quest to find those needle in a haystack coins that can transform lives overnight. So here's what I want you to do right now, this very moment. Go find every quarter in your possession, spread them out on a table, get a good light source and a magnifying glass if you have one, and start examining each 1997p quarter carefully and methodically, checking the mint mark first to confirm it's from Philadelphia, then inspecting Washington's portrait and the lettering for any signs of doubling or tripling, looking at the overall color and feel of the coin to see if it might be struck on the wrong planchet, and examining the edge and diameter to check for broadstrike characteristics, because somewhere out there, perhaps in your house right now, there could be a 1997p quarter worth $85 million just waiting to be discovered, and the only thing standing between you and that fortune is the decision to actually look, to actually care, to actually take the time to examine what everyone else ignores. The 1995D and 1997p quarters represent something magical in American numismatics. They're modern coins that are young enough that millions of them are still in circulation, still findable, still attainable for anyone willing to search, yet rare enough in their era varieties to be worth absolutely staggering amounts of money, creating this perfect treasure hunt scenario where the rewards are enormous but the opportunity is democratic and available to anyone with knowledge and persistence. These aren't ancient coins locked away in museums or elite collections. These are coins from your lifetime, coins you might have spent as a child, coins that are still being pulled out of circulation by lucky finders who transform their financial futures with a single discovery. So take everything you've learned from this video, internalize it, let it change how you think about the coins in your pocket, and join the ranks of successful treasure hunters who understand that fortune favors not just the bold but the informed, the observant, and the persistent, because somewhere out there, your $83 million 1995D quarter or your $85 million 1997p quarter is waiting for you to find it, and all you have to do is look.